Hello, I'm Carl Baker. Welcome to this Inspire for Academic Earns tutorial on converting barriers. Let's sign in. F11, so that Inspire is displayed fully on the screen. We're now going to talk about the next step in the cycle, which is converting barriers. If we click the button, we have the summary at the top and the work area down the bottom. What is converting barriers? Well, first of all, when you come to this step, it will have collated and collected together all of the barriers entered in to Inspire during the last cycle. There are several places where new barriers are entered. We've already, in the last video, covered off entering barriers, adding new barriers. But there are also other places, such as when you review your actions, you will have the opportunity to mark down new discovered barriers, for instance. What the system does is collate them all together, and when you come to this step of converting barriers, you will see all of the new barriers that have been entered during the last cycle. Okay, what do we do with converting barriers? Well, these barriers, when they're first entered, are purely negative things that we believe that get in the way of achieving our challenge. What we're going to do is rewrite or reconsider each of these barriers into desired outcomes. In other words, how would we like it to be? What's the aim of changing it from this negative barrier to something that we feel fits our personal style and approach? The question itself is describe how you need the barrier to be so that it no longer gets in the way of achieving the challenge. The other way of looking at it, as I've just mentioned, is the desired outcome. How would you rather this barrier be? Clearly, it can't be just, I don't want to do it, because it's a barrier getting in the way of the challenge. So knowing that we do have to deal with this barrier, how, on reflection, would we prefer it to be? Okay, so they all start with I need. So starting each sentence with a small letter, not a capital letter, because the system will join these words and our sentence together. Let's think. I am not motivated. Well, you can put down I need to be motivated or become motivated. You can be as straightforward as that. But if you stop and think about each of these, you will end up with a more positive and sometimes a subtle difference in what you actually wanted to become that may be slightly different from the actual barrier itself. I am not motivated. I need to be excited by finding a job. Okay. So I've changed it from I am not motivated to I need to be excited about finding a job. As I've mentioned, I could have put I need to be more motivated. It's up to you, and there's no right or wrong answers. It's just the way you see it. And I started with a small letter so that we don't have a capital letter in the middle of a sentence when that's pulled together. There are not any jobs in my area, so I need to find jobs in my area, we could say. I need to find where the closest jobs are. On reflection, I'm thinking, okay, I don't think there are any jobs in my area. Okay, so where are the closest jobs? Next, I'm not sure how to find the jobs, so I need to identify all ways of finding a job. So now I'm tasking myself really with, okay, well, if I'm not sure how to find the jobs, I'm going to have to find out where I can find those jobs. And that's an exercise in itself. It's one step towards the ultimate challenge, and it's a step that's worth going through in order to move me one step closer to achieving what I want. I don't have a good enough CV, so I need to create a good CV. You could say brilliant CV or whatever you think. So these that we've now converted will actually become the barriers we work on. We will no longer see these in future. We will actually have 4 barriers that start with I need. On the right hand side, we then need to assess each of these barriers. By the way, both these questions have red stars, so all need to be completed. I need to be excited by finding a job. The question, by the way, choose how much the need on the left, that's this here, gets in the way of you achieving this challenge. So how much do these get in the way of achieving this challenge? As I've said before, always read the questions, even if you know what the questions are. It sets your mind in the right thinking process. Okay, I need to be excited by finding a job. Well, I think that gets in the way a lot. I need to find where the closest jobs are. Well, gets in the way a lot. I need to identify ways of finding a job. I think that significantly gets in the way. I need to create a good CV. I also think that significantly gets in the way. Now, when reviewing these in your mind, the system's asking you to review and make decisions on reflecting on each of these. And that's when you may think initially something is significantly gets in the way, and actually it does not get in the way at all. And something you thought wasn't that important may actually appear, or you'll tick it higher in the list. So the list is significantly gets in the way a lot, gets in the way a little, does not get in the way. Okay. If it does not get in the way, then clearly Inspire will discard that and throw it away. You no longer need it. However, if you have a barrier here that you instinctively immediately say that's not going to get in the way, it's irrelevant, you still have to complete this box here. So in other words, even though you don't think it's that relevant, and one of the other ways that you'll see barriers collected here are when we do 360 feedback. Your colleagues may suggest barriers that get in your way. So in here you may see one from your colleague and think that's irrelevant, it's not necessary. You still have to go through the reflection process of considering it before you make a decision on whether it gets in the way or not. Okay, and that's when you can surprise yourself by actually thinking, well, it does get in the way a little, once you've been through filling in this box and going through the reflection process. So it's important, read the question, consider it, complete it, then make the decision on whether or how much it gets in the way of achieving this challenge. One other thing to mention is this column here. This column is basically, if you tick these, it means that that barrier is confidential and isn't seen by the consultant. I'd ask you it's not relevant to use this column, so please don't bother, because it's important that your consultant knows, and if he talks to you or she talks to you in a meeting, that they actually understand everything that you're all the barriers that you're working on and working through. So don't tick any of these boxes in this column, just ignore that. Okay, that's it. There is a forward arrow to the review barriers, but I'm not, or you can click the green button. We'll cover reviewing barriers in the next video. So click the once completed. Incidentally, if you don't complete something, then the system will warn you before you come out. So click the green button, and this card has changed to review barriers. You can work on this card straight away or leave it for a few days and then work on it. Thanks very much for watching, and the next video will be on reviewing barriers.